Hello, my name is Aaron Cavanagh and I'm the founder and editor-in-chief of Post-Burnout.com. Post-Burnout.com is a culture website dedicated to venerating burnt-out artists the world over. This is our website's podcast where we publish full-length recordings of our interviews, which are sometimes the unedited versions of our site's articles and at other times are exclusives. If you're a returning listener, thank you for coming back, and if this is your first time listening, thank you for checking us out. We hope you enjoy and consider subscribing, giving the episodes a thumbs up if you're on YouTube, or giving it a rating if you're anywhere else. It really helps us out. Thank you. Alright, so in this edition of Post-Burnout.com interviews, the American musician Conan Neutron discusses his project Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends, their sixth studio album, The Wave the Neutron, how the album incorporates lessons from Conan's time as a musician, their then upcoming tour of Japan, and much more. I wasn't really sure if I should release this as an episode because I screwed up the recording on my end. So if you like this podcast but you don't like listening to me, this might be the best episode for you. Also, if this is your first time listening, the episodes aren't usually like this. Usually you can hear me. Thankfully, Conan was able to save the recording because he was recording on his end, and technically my voice is in the mix, but I tried messing with it to try and elevate my voice to amplify it so that it could be audible, but it just didn't work. So what I'm doing instead is, if you watch the video portion of this episode, I'm going to give context where I think it's needed. That was the best I could do with this. I'm sorry, but a good theme of this episode is learning from your mistakes, and that is hopefully a mistake I will never make again. Thank you.
Crazy, right? uh Depending on the day. Well, because when I started it really wasn't I had the idea to start this long-lived Conan Neutron final form band or anything. I was just let's just see if I can make a record, more or less on my own, asterisk caveat, right? And if I had known at the time, I never would have called it a sentence-long band name. I think it's a great band name, but it's I guess I'm going to be asking people to spell the entire thing out till the day I die. Cool. I didn't have any expectations at all, and then it turns out that through the framework of doing it, of writing the songs and recording the songs, I found that at a advanced stage might not be the correct word, but not young, I figured it out kind of late, but I did figure it out, and it's, hey, at least you figure it out eventually, and that's wonderful, and it resonated with people on whatever level that we operate at, and it was doing something of worth and value. And for me, having been in bands before and made records and toured and do all the things the bands do, and it was just a humbling experience to be like, oh, I've kind of been doing this wrong / just not correct for a while. I could have been doing this the whole time, but I'm here now. And well, exactly. And so that's how I try to think about things. Because I'm a big fan of just learning by doing. But also, accent on the learning part. And a lot of times when Secret Friends started off, I was like, oh, my instincts are actually good. But then I tend to overthink things or get real perfectionist about stuff that nobody cares about. And, just all these little lessons. And can't give a huge shout out anymore. I have to give a huge shout out to Toshi Kasai, who produces and engineers all the Secret Friends stuff, because he is such a brilliant audio mind and has been so intrinsic to the success of the band and the success of me as a songwriter, and which is something, by the way, if I heard myself talking like this when I was 22, I'd be like, oh, you idiot. Oh, songwriter. But look, dude, I write and arrange freaking songs and then I record them. So that is exactly what I am. But I know, God, he's insufferable too. You should hear this guy. I know. Well, I think he would be. What's interesting is I think I would be 22-year-old Conan Neutron would probably be like, hey, this is really good. Like, these riffs are awesome. These songs are good. But all of the things that got me there would be like, oh no. I was very certain of myself. Let's put it that way. And I think that right. It's like, oh God. Yeah, it's just like, oh, here's Wonderwall. It's like it's like, but yeah. So irreverence has been a brand identity proposition for me for most of my lifetime, and I still think so. Like some folks have noticed on the Way of the Neutron that there's humor to it. Like, even though it's like, you might be darkly humorous now and again, but like, there is a humor to it, but it's not goofy. It's not jokey. And that's an important distinction for me. And that's the difference for me between a band like, and I think They Might Be Giants is great, but like a band like They Might Be Giants versus Sparks. And that's kind of like a sweet spot, but it's weird because most bands don't do it. So it's also kind of puts us in this weird island of like, what are these characters all about, But, I mean, it's a rough world out there. I don't know if you noticed. It's a rough world out there. And that's, there's a time where it's like, well, I can choose to be angry or cruel, or I can choose to be funny. And I would prefer to be funny. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You get to stay. I mean, yeah. Oh, God, that would. Yeah. I mean, like, to be a shut-in in 1920. Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, that's one of my favorite books. By the way, Shirley Jackson is an OG. That's one of my favorite books. Period. Not just genre books. One of my favorite books. Period. But I think that we're forced. These walled gardens force us to interact with people and to be aware of things and to react to things, and in a way that the human mind is absolutely not wired to be able to handle. Period. Like, and that we never talk about this. So we're celebrating the individual without celebrating the needs of the individual all the time, and that's crazy. Like, it's not good as a society, but they're extracting plenty of value from it, so it's going to continue on that way. We must like it. We don't do anything about it. I mean, I have to meter my news intake, my social media content. I just have a hard time. I don't have it in me to be, ruinous empathy is a term that I coined years ago, and that's, I think, what a lot of people are experiencing now, where it's like, of course you're a caring, feeling human being, and you're stuck in this hell world of just, all these awful things happening that you're powerless to stop. But here's all this information about it, and you can't stop it coming at you. Okay. Mm. What? Right. Well, and the efficacy of it too, right? Like, yeah, the having an effect, and so it's wild that, like, I didn't walk into making this record of like, oh, here's going to be my, like, my mission statement and life ethos of the world at all. But what I noticed was the songs that I was like, oh, these seem to be, all birds of a feather here. I was like, oh, this kind of seems to be a thing. Okay. And then I thought about what kind of inspired me to do it in the first place. And from a larger perspective, it was just the idea of like, okay, so I've been doing this stuff, doing it, pretty well, doing it as best I can, and people get something out of it, cool. And then I've kind of found myself in a situation where, well, and now I guess I know that this can now be more. So there's something to be said for flying the flag, right? Light it up, keep it lit, like just like, hey, here it is. And I was sort of subconsciously doing it anyway. And so that's why, like, the last song on the record, The Way, it's like literally just like, all right, I guess I'll just literally spell it out. Just like, just like go line by line. Because it's like, well, hell, man, if you're going to do it, do it. Don't don't do it halfway, And that's, I think that's, I mean, God, if there's anything I can, you can say about the things that I do is that I definitely fully commit. But, again, part of that is questioning what you're doing and why you're doing it. And I've been in a position where I've been able to advise, mentor, I don't know the correct term, the younger bands to just help them through their career, some of which have like become pretty successful. And, it's like, I just wish I think of the people that I had to talk to at the time. Like, I just want to kind of pay that back. That's what punk rock is to me, or DIY, or whatever the hell we're calling it now. That you're helping each other out. You're taking to, hey, by the way, I can't tell you the correct way to do it, but here's how not to do it, which is almost more important, right? And so, like, yeah, all these songs are just like, it's this pugnacious perseverance, right? Which is like the world now. Like, just like getting up in the morning and facing the day is like an actual battle half the time, right? Right, exactly. Morning, yeah, air quotes. But I think but that's real though. I mean, it's just, so the fact that, no, look, man, same. But I live on rock and roll hours whenever I can. Anytime I'm not, I'm like, well, I'm technically speaking awake. Are you going to be able to get anything good out of me? No, not really. But no, but it's and not just like, I'm talking about like the content fire hose, right? I'm talking about just like horrific things that you have to deal with, it's harder and harder just to get through the day. Do you know Mike Lee, the director Mike Lee? I mean, I think he's so great at showing the material conditions of working class people. And it's I wish that more people watch his movies because for me it's like that. There's so much with music, especially. There's this thing of everyone's a temporary embarrassed superstar, right? Everyone's just like, oh well, we're just biding time until we're huge. Okay, but most bands will never be huge, especially not now in an atomized culture that is so far and away from the monoculture that I grew up with, where you have all these niches, which are great. You can find your niche, you can find for people more easily now than ever. But there's a real honor and distinction to just doing the work. And I think that like everybody's like looking past that. I'm like, no, and this has been a fight for myself for most of my adult life, like just to stay in the moment. We're here now. This is what we're doing. Yes, these cool things will be happening in the future. Yes, I'm excited about them. But we are here right now, and let's make the most of that time. What are you going to do with your time? Because you're never going to have this time again. And so taking all of those ideas together and kind of putting them to song, right? It was like, okay, like half it just kind of came together naturally because it was just literally on my mind. Because it's like, okay, this is technically speaking, it's the fourth full-length LP, but that's not counting the 2 LP split singles collection. That's not counting the split LP with Long. That's not counting the EP with Dangerous Nomenclature with Erratic Retaliator Strategy. Like, it's not like we've not been busy, but it's the first one in 5 years. Like, Dark Passengers came out like right as COVID was hitting, which is crazy because I wrote like a year before that. It's like, oh, I wrote the record about depression and mental health before everyone was having a mental health crisis. What's next, right? Actually, my joke at the time was, I forgot about this, is like, oh yeah, I because the Commuter was a lead single on Dangerous Nomenclature. It was like, oh yeah, I wrote the definitive song about commuting right as everyone learned to work from home. there was like a few a few weird moments that did happen, and then that would have been cool, right? But that's what I'm saying. Like, so the idea of I've always been of the don't settle for the world that you live in. Create the world you want to see. Within your power. Like, and again, if you get too caught up in like global affairs and international waves of misery and whatnot, you're not going to be able to do that much, and you're going to feel powerless and helpless, and it's going to make things worse. But like every day, I mean, there's no stories like mine that I know of in popular media, right? There just isn't. Like there's by the time I quote unquote got good, not that the stuff before that isn't good. Don't at me, fans of old bands, but I know, right? Yeah, exactly, that guy. By the time I know, just slagging each other off. Oh, what a dick. Hey, why don't you get some pants that fit, jerk? Those are like 3 sizes too big for you. Try some style. Yeah, we'll try drinking less beer. Okay, well, he's got me there. Where's it getting at? Oh, yeah. Yeah, just being pugnacious, right? Like you have to. Like, why are you in this? Like, why are you doing this? Are you doing this because you want to glorify your ego? I mean, like, look, my name is literally in all the stuff I do, so I guess one could feasibly think that that's what it is. But no, the idea is like, for me, I've always looked at it like my life was intrinsically changed for the better. My life ethos defined by music and all things surrounding music. And for what I do is like, this is just my entry into giving that back. And I guess this is a little more direct. I mean, I could definitely see people listen to the record and be like, who the hell is this guy? Who does he think he is? Like, what is this? Like, who are you? ... And the answer is, well, I'm Conan Neutron. And that's exactly who I am. And I'm not saying everybody should do what I do. Good luck if you were to try, because like I did all kinds of terrible things wrong. But like, it's also like, what do you do with that knowledge? What do you do with those mistakes? I try to come at things with a position of curiosity more than judgment these days, and I think that's a change you can make. You literally have to make a decision. And I spent a lot of time being really angry about a lot of stuff I couldn't change. That's like, wow, that was a lot of energy I had back then. Yeah. Yeah. Why are you so happy? There's a great story about Hubert Selby Jr. and Henry Rollins like running around in a car and like seeing like someone like whatever's having a day, like enjoying himself. Oh, what's wrong with that guy? Why is he so happy? Yeah, that's annoying. And I think about that because that's an easy thing to get into. I mean, like I'm a high functioning manic depressive. That's why I wrote Dark Passengers in the first place, is because I was like, well, I want to do this. I don't want the songs to sound depressing. That's like a key factor. But it's like, ideally, you only get, for something like you only get one bite at the apple. So, but it's like, okay, I want to talk about all these things like impossible tasking and imposter complex and suicidal ideation, all that stuff. And for me, I live with it every day. Like, I was surprised when people didn't. And I was like, oh, you're just like in a general state of being okay, huh? Wow. I mean, like I don't even know what that's like. And for me, my catchphrase, I think it's one of the song lyrics in one of the songs is like, it's not the manic parts you have to worry about, right? And for me, I have a tendency to withdraw when I'm down too. And so people are like, well, oh, you're always doing stuff. You're always running around and creating and like, building community and yada, 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 blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, well, that's, if you ever notice, there are times I'm not. And if I'm not, yeah, that's what's going on then. Right. Right. So sure. So two things. So two things there. First of all, there's a song called "Without the Poison, What Am I?" on Dark Passengers. That is literally about like, oh well, if you medicate yourself for these things, does that ruin the creative spirit? Essentially, right? And I didn't. I assisted Lindsay Charles with Cell Phones, who sings that song with that. But that was definitely like this is like that's real. That's as real as it gets when you're a creative. And I think that yeah, I mean, and the world at large is like not, again, we do not celebrate the needs of the individual in any way, shape, or form. So it's like you're walking into a fixed game all the time. And it's funny because I feel like in culturally we've gone backwards in so many ways, but there is at least open discussion about this kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like it isn't like, 50s dad, just like, strong jawed, like sitting there crying inside, and I think there's something to be said there. But also we again, there's this weird permanent sense of reaction culture and keeping up with the Joneses. And everyone wants to put their best foot forward on things. Okay, cool. Yeah, but that doesn't mean that everyone's not. Like you have to give yourself permission. Like during like COVID, especially like during like high COVID, right? Like it was like just like, look, man, getting up and like being in the world is like that's a win. Don't feel like you have to do anything. Like you're in an unprecedented time that somehow turned into precedented times. Sorry, by the way, that was mostly us. We hate those people, by the way. Yeah. If you would have had it on my bingo card, that a bunch of people would be like, yeah, that's not real. It's like, no, come on. It's not that. What are we, an idiocracy? But I guess we are. So there we go. No, well, and everything has to be politicized, right? And it's like, and I think of, did you see Don't Look Up, the Adam McKay movie? Yeah, it's like, too real, man. Too real. That's every day, and it's exhausting, and it's exhausting to have to engage with it. And so, again, I'm coming from the perspective of, like, I had a pretty chaotic childhood. I moved around a lot. I didn't have a lot of structure, so most of the structures and systems are things that I made myself. So that led me, that set me up well for the DIY world, the punk rock world of organizing, throwing shows, like, booking tours, blah, blah, blah. All the things you have to do, like, when you're in the music world. I have a head that's very suited for that, based on my deeply chaotic upbringing. So how I got there is, like, not the best, but I did get there. And another epiphany was like, oh, some people are not, like... No, they just had like a normal childhood with like, a mother and a father and like a home that is the same home for their entire childhood. Like, and it's like, oh, that's not me. I mean, but it's also like, why is touring so easy for me? I don't know. Maybe it's like just because wherever I'm at, that's where home is, I mean, to a certain degree, like I'm sitting here in recording studio in the basement of this house, so not entirely, but like I feel like it comes very easy to me. I'm not very tied to material possessions in that way. I'm tied more towards ideas and art and things like that. Like, and I don't know, like, like materialism kind of like astounds me. I'm like, what? Why would you spend money on that? I mean, it's great to have hobbies. Don't get me wrong, but like, it's just not. Well, sure. Turn on your streaming service or whatever. They're all selling you stuff. They're all selling you things that will fill the void that is in your heart and or head. Sometimes literally. Mm-hmm. The dole there. Yeah. No, everyone's miserable. Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's look, that's the world that we live in. And so so I guess for me there's like prescriptive solutions presented within the record that is usually boil down to like find what you love and do it, and minimize the hassle and the woe, knowing that we do indeed live in a society. You have to have a job, right? Unless you're independently wealthy, which good on you, I guess. And just find value in that, and find value in the good fight of doing it, which is, that's not like an exciting story, I guess, to tell. because it's always like, oh, it has to be some big, like, oh, the zombie apocalypse, or okay, this and that. No, we live in the mundane apocalypse. Like, we live in the most mundane apocalypse you could ever have imagined, and that's, dude, the banality is real, right? Like, did you ever think that things could be this dumb? Well, Devo clearly did, but other than that, it's like, oh man, he seems so far away from Star Trek. Oh, they're right about everything. I once said my political beliefs were Fugazi, and my religious beliefs were Devo. Maybe it was the other way around. I don't remember. Just wouldn't even be possible. Well, and then not to lay a patch on one of my favorite bands of all time, but also it was the new Ian MacKaye band. Like, and people don't even think about it at the time, but Minor Threat was like beyond huge. It was like there's still like 15, 16-year-olds every year picking up that CD, or I guess listening to the playlist on Spotify or whatever, which is a depressing sentence, but it was a confluence of the fact that the band was cracking, the band was doing amazing work, and they were at a moment of this, like, they were just the beginning of that mass commercialization. At the time it was like Ticketmaster, like now it's like how good we had it. It's like everything's just like one 360 brand for all that stuff. They own the venues too, that they were showing a different way, and and some folks it resonated with, like, look at Pearl Jam, like, and who basically more or less like ripped off what they were doing with their blessing, and was like, hey, we're gonna do that too. Great, that's awesome. More bands should do that. And but now that level of quote unquote resistance to that kind of just corporate way of doing things, best you're gonna get out of it is The Cure. Like Robert Smith just like put in. which is great, and it's awesome that he's doing that, and it's provided real intrinsic results. But the thing is, you need more people doing that too. So hopefully, it's the kind of thing where, they say it's not the first person that starts a diaspora that is as important as the second person, right? That joins up, that shows it's okay, and then from there you can start something. So maybe it's the start of something. That'd be wonderful. When we tour, whenever possible, I try to book independent venues. I try to do all ages, whenever we can, much to the band's coffers detriment, frankly. But even except for bands whose entire genre is only for young people, I feel like it's an uphill battle. For most bands, because it's just doing it requires so much effort and so much time and energy and money, and it don't get any better as you get older too. And so it's one of those things where it does matter to me. I would rather, because I think about all those shows I saw as a kid that just kicked my mind in. What? This? Whoa! What's even happening? Change, rewired your brain, change your worldview. Yeah, and I'm not saying that we're doing that necessarily. I mean, it's always the goal, but in the failure of achieving perfection, we hopefully come up with something cool.
Well, no, I mean, obviously, I think if you're going to exclude kids from the music scene, you're going to potentially cut off. I don't know, actually, maybe to some degree. I think kids will always find the records they want to find and find
Mm-hmm.
music. But yeah, I do think live music really, it's sort of unparalleled. It's really this cannot be replicated.
And that's a good point, and that's interesting with this band, because this band is a both at the same time thing, right? There's the recorded material, which I fully stand by. I'm doing it at the highest level of my capacity. And always this record's my favorite record I've ever done, right? If you don't feel that way, I don't even know what you're doing if you're an artist, but dicking around, I guess. But that's the recorded material, and there are people that listen to the entire record. There are people that only listen to the singles. There are people that listen to 30 seconds of a clip on TikTok or something. Okay, whatever. There's no wrong way to listen to it. But if you're engaging with it, that's lovely. And then there's a live band, which is a live experience. And I've noticed that this is a rock band. And I don't need any hyphens with other words in front of it about that, because it's a rock band. But somehow just rock music has become the only time you hear it is if it's this shameless, soulless imitators, like your Greta Van Fleet, your Wolf Mother. So where it's just cool, I have those records too, man. I'd rather listen to that. And it's not Civil War reenactment to me. You know what I mean? Wait, does that get over for you? Yeah, but yeah. There's people are what the you're doing that with your time? Okay, wow. Well, that's a larger question, isn't it? Yeah. But it's I have to say it's a big weird rock band, right? So it's informed from this world of punk rock and post punk and noise rock and yada yada blah blah. But it's a big weird rock band. We played the Wisconsin State Fair, and it was great. People were wonderful. We got thanked for being a rock band, which is the first time that has literally ever happened. And it's interesting because I feel like a lot of our kind of fellow travelers are from the more noisy part of the world, or the more punky part of the world, and it gets over there too. Don't get me wrong, but when I think of it, it's a big weird rock band. Along the lines of stuff like Queen or Sabbath or AC/DC or whatnot. But it's also coming from a world where Fugazi and Melvins and Gang of Four and Sparks and all these other bands all exist as well. And sometimes you hear that, especially in the arrangements. I feel like on this record, people are oh, kind of new wave. And it's well, yeah, I mean, because there were some really cool ideas that are there. It doesn't have to be 80s pop. You can implement that in the same thing with heavy riffs. Nobody does. I seem to be the only one doing it. I don't know. I mean, Chapile kind of does a little bit, but they're buddies of ours. But it's also we live in a society that doesn't reward things that are different. Now, for me, when I hear something, it's oh, that's different. That's cool. I'm interested in hearing that, right? But I also listen to a lot of music, and I think we now more than ever, with our tastes being commodified and sold back to us over and over again, it's going to play you. Oh, you like this? Here, have this other thing sounds exactly like that. Have some slop pickies, and that's what I just reject entirely. You don't have to do it. You shouldn't accept it. You should have higher standards for yourself as well as for society. Now, it's going to fail you 100%, but have the standards at least. It'll make you feel better. And in the seeking out of the better way, you can improve material conditions. You can improve your mental state. Anhedonia, which is just like the inability to feel emotion due to overwhelming. Yeah, look, so that's heard. I agree, and that's kind of like one of the things with this record. Not that I'm sitting here like trying to be like a Billy Bragg or something, but it's more like here's a outline for. Yes, don't take any guff from this wine, as the great Hunter S. Thompson once said. But also, it has to go beyond that too. Like, where do you go from there, while still acknowledging the world that we live in? And I've struggled a little bit as being someone that is seen as someone with answers, which look, I might have a couple answers, but none of us have all the answers. By the way, anyone says that they do have all the answers are probably trying to sell you something, frankly, and it could be a cult. But again, in the living of life and the living a world of creativity and somehow keeping it sustainable, which blows my mind sometimes, and I'm the one doing it. That there is value to figuring that out and figure out what works for you, because what works for me doesn't work for everyone else, and that's something I'm very quick to say. Is that look, if you want to know how I got to where I'm at, literally just be me, and that's not going to happen. So you have to figure out what works for you, and how that works for you. But that said, here are some things that I would suggest. And it goes a little like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. But again, it's like I'm acting like the whole thing's like a TED talk. It really isn't like this record. But I think if you, and then, you know what? There's also people like, I'm not a lyrics guy. I'm like, what? Okay, I mean, I feel the same way. And there's even people where. The dearly departed Warren Zevon continues to catch flack from me, where I'm like, I love the idea of Warren Zevon a lot, and I like some Warren Zevon music, but I just am like, wow, I really like the idea of him better than the actual music, right? Because he's so literate and smart, and it's like, oh yeah, that's awesome. And there are people that I like. John Darnielle, Mountain Goats, great example. I love the Mountain Goats. There's large swaths of records I don't have, I never listen to, but whatever. He's always good for a great turn of phrase. He writes some just incredible songs. Just a force for good and creativity. Those are my people, where it's not just the longevity, but it's like, you're elevating a little bit. I love AC/DC. There's a lot of songs about balls. It's like it's not where I'm at. I listen to them all the time, but I don't listen to them for the lyricism. But I do listen to the lyrics, and when people say they don't, I'm always like, huh, really? It's surprising to me, and I don't know. I don't know what that says about me, but well, I guess the riffs are cool too. You can just listen to that, or. Oh yeah. If you have the biggest balls of them all, please get them examined by a licensed physician. That is not regular. You should not have them. Yeah. Can you imagine? That would be That would be awesome and hilarious at the same time. If AC/DC gained even just for testicular cancer gained social awareness, like the least socially aware band in the history of rock and roll, right? Oh, probably. I can imagine. And to be clear, I feel like I have to say I'm a Bon Scott guy first and foremost. But I can imagine Brian Johnson in like a smoking jacket and a fancy Masterpiece Theater chair, balls on my mind would be the title. Oh, I agree. No, I again, I have to say because I feel like other than Highway to Hell, like people just don't realize that there was a whole rich catalog of music before, and that's a. Oh my God, the Australian, the U.S. version versus the Australian version. I was like, what is this? Why? First of all, why would you leave that song off? Why would you put this song on? Like, just like, oh my God, it's insane. Like it's you could drive yourself crazy with it. But I think, but you know, it's funny. Like I was talking, it only comes up on shows or whatever they're like gear things, right? But I'm like, there's a lot of Malcolm Young in what I do, like riff wise, and a lot of that's like, could I play more complicated? Yeah, of course I can, but it's not what the music needs. You know, if you had if you had a drummer that was like Neil Peart playing an AC/DC, like that'd be horrible. That would be like, what is happening right now? You know, like the simplicity is the key to the music, and there's some, and that's another thing that growth wise for me musically, I've gotten more astute about. Is just like sometimes it's good part's good part, and you don't need to overdo it. You don't need to overcook it. You don't need to add a bunch of like filigree to it. It's just, is that good? Yeah, it's good. Great. Don't worry about it. Move on. Oh yeah. And those same bass riffs she wrote, like if you like go to a guitar center and people are like, someone's picking out their first bass, they're probably playing that. They're probably playing something like that, or like what's it, the opening to Six Pack maybe for Black Flag. I'm trying to think of like like it's like iconic, and there's something to be said for that. And I'm not saying I don't like complicated music. I love like King Crimson and like Residents and all that. I mean, like, look, great, but oh my God, yeah. Dukowski does not give nearly enough credit for like this being the freaking engine for that band, right? And Kira's amazing as well. Like it's from a songwriting perspective, there was a bit of a downhill slide, in my opinion, but there's still some great songs. I agree. I think that's absolutely the strongest lineup. Just when it was good, yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. It's like, because yeah, it'll be like hard banger, oh so good, and then like what? Like what? And it's crazy. And you're talking about someone like, I love Process of Weeding Out. I love that record is awesome. Like it's, and but that was another example of a band that like they're always Black Flag, even like no matter like what Greg Ginn is doing his best to sort of sully that reputation, but yeah, yeah. Well, at least the East Bay Ray is going to have like 20 degrees of directionless jamming in the in the set. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. 100%. No, I'll love. Well, and oh, I mean, we talk about Dead Kennedys all day long, twice on Tuesday, but it's getting back to Flag. Blows my mind. Third, so we announced our U.S. states for May and June. Not all of them, but like, coast to coast. We're gonna hit in the south and the fall. But the third to last show, Astral Jets is playing with us, which Dez from Black Flag is in that band, and I'm like, oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. Everything went black. Everything went black. Yeah. I used to have that T-shirt, by the way. That T-shirt was awesome with the hedge. Oh, it's awesome. Oh, it's so good. Yeah, but it's a different thing. It's a different thing, right? And that's so. Yeah, and he's so Astral Jets, and that's also with Paul Rossler of the Screamers, who's played in a million bands as well, and John Hall, who plays in the Freaks, who are great as well. And they're all just like dudes that have been around forever. And I think it's kind of more psych music, whatever. And like literally playing with like one of like the best punk rock singers of all time and one of the best bands of all time. Oh my God. Like they're opening for us. That's crazy to me. I'm like, oh my God. And I say that as someone that, like I'm friendly with some of the, but it's always like, oh yeah, that's right. You're in Black Flag. Jesus. I forgot about that. It's the same thing when Dale and I will be hanging out and we're talking, this one time on tour, blah, blah, blah. Etc. Oh yeah, this one time on tour. Da, da, da. Oh yeah, that's when you were on tour with Nirvana, wasn't it? I forgot about that. Right. Okay, sure. Yeah, a little bit. But he's not the one saying that. I'm the one that's like, oh, man. Because that's the thing is, and just sticking around long enough and, staying consistent and just doing it. It's like, well, it's not going to put any money in the bank, but like, like all the people that I grew up listening to, like, I know a lot of them now. Great. Yeah. Right. Yeah, just having a conversation. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's a trip. Yeah, it's a trip because I feel like so there's a I don't remember what the documentary is, but Mike Watts in it, like he is in a lot of these, and he's talking about how just punk rock's about taking turns being on stage. Like you don't get a neck crick when you're on the same level, right? And I always think about that, and because I think about like with the show specifically, I'm providing a platform for people that don't get to talk about their stuff all the time, or if they do, that's coming at it from a specific perspective. And I'm someone that, I tour and make records actively. Like it's not only is it not in my past, it's like very much in my future. There's a bunch of tour dates coming, and you just get a different kind of conversation that way. And so sometimes you just have a good conversation, and that is literally the end of it. And you're like, great, we had a great conversation. Goodbye forever, And then sometimes you did. Yeah, where it's like, wow, that was great. And I was like, and that is all that will ever happen with that. Okay, well, that's fine. Yeah, exactly. A quarter second after the call was over, it's like, who was that? I don't remember. And you have to kind of get okay with that. But then also sometimes you stay friendly with people. Sometimes you just become friends with them. And that's weird. And that just comes from like nobody's around to tell me no. I would just be strike up conversations with people in bands all the time, and then some of them ended up being big bands, and I don't get starstruck. I guess that probably helps. People are just everybody poops the same as you. It's just but there's also, and there's different gradations, right? Like there's a great story. Page Hamilton of Helmet has when he was touring in David Bowie's band, and credit where credit's due. Crover kind of put me up to it. That like he was like asking about the Hangover Hamilton story. I'm like, what's this? And so he told this like long involved story about like he was the only one drinking on the tour. He was like, he was like taking advantage of like some of the backstage stuff, et cetera, et cetera. And there was all this like alcohol around. I was like, well, I'm gonna take some of this with me. Like it's good stuff. And so, and he had this like debaucherous night with I think the people from the Bodines, if I remember right. And so then like, and then he's like he's coming in like so late it's early, where all the rest of the band is like, I had a lovely night of rest and now we're gonna go have our day. And then like he gets in the elevator and there's Bowie in the elevator with him, and he's got like pockets full of like alcohol, and he just goes, Hangover Hamilton's at it again. And that's a really butchered version of that story, but I just think about like, because for me that's like, yeah, David Bowie would be like, fuck, dude, you're like, that's like being in the company of like an emperor or something. It's like, oh my god, but he's also just a dude. Yeah. And that's my friends in Deerhoof toured with him, and yeah, they were like, yeah, he's absolutely like that. Like people, like everybody at the restaurant was like looking at our table the entire time, but we were just like chopping it up and having a good old time. That's a paraphrase of what they said. They didn't say that, but yeah, I mean, but that's kind of what it comes down to. But I think also when you tie so much of your world and your identity and your personage into music, and you have these people that are just these larger than life figures, I think it's understandable that like people would feel awkward or like what do you even say? By the way, most people that have, and I say this having hung around famous friends of mine, most people have nothing to say. That's also the problem. First of all, have something to say. And I'm not saying everybody needs to behave this way, but it's demoralizing almost, where it's like, oh, okay, yeah. Like, and I'm trying to have a conversation with my friend, and it's like, yeah, man, you're really good. Oh, thanks for coming to the show. Yeah, love that last record. Oh, cool. And it's like, that's it. This is what, like, you didn't prepare some like thing. So I mean, that's kind of weird too. But that's also like celebrity culture. There's no avenues for that, right? Yeah, when you want to get across what you want to say, right? And you want to say like, hey, this is important to me. It helped me through some tough times. Oh, great. I've had records that have done that too. Blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not trying to denigrate the fan experience. I'm just saying that for however reason I'm built, even when I didn't have any reason to justify or warrant it, I've never been starstruck. I'm not a starstruck person, really. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that helps with certain people where they have like a fandom that's very, real. We're like, oh god, that I'm just not one of those kinds of people at all. So then they have a more relaxed conversation. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's weird. Like I think when I think about like all the things I could have done instead of like making records and touring, and like I don't know, could own a home, could like like have like a career advancement. I don't know. Well, now that's like sci-fi, which is hilarious because it used to be coming from Oakland in the Bay Area. Own a house. You'll never own a house. Get out of here. But then it's like, oh, everyone does in the Midwest, but now that's even like harder now here. And that's neither here nor there. But I'm not saying I'm decrying my life decisions. I'm saying they're just that, life decisions. Like if people look at what we do and like, well, why does he have that and I don't? Like, first of all, I worked for it. Secondly, I made the decision to do it. And I cannot overstate how much of life is you make a decision to do it. And not making a decision is also a decision. Inaction is completely a decision. And that's what most people do. I would rather make the wrong decision than just not make a decision. I would rather make the right decision. Don't get me wrong, but like I think we live in a culture of just everybody is like it's easy to have a negative reaction to something because that's like what the default state, and it's easier to just go along with whatever everybody else is doing, which is the default state. And that's horrifying. And that's, I mean, books have been written about this, right? Like, great works of fiction have been written about this. And we're deep in it. And just like, hey, let's build this, robot dog that like operates off meat. Like, what are you doing? No, don't do that. That's a terrible idea. Have you not seen a sci-fi movie before? Christ, stop. That's the world we live in now, and again, it's idiotic, but it's also like, what are you gonna do about it, man? I mean, you can't like your Facebook posts aren't gonna change that. No, exactly. No, it's because I like feel so deeply and intrinsically in science that I would wish that they would actually apply the scientific method to like what they're thinking about, because I could show you 2 movies right now that would stop you from making this specific robot or like, like whatever, like just like stop. It's like when you see like, archaeologists who open up 1,000-year-old tomb. Like, I'm sorry, have you never seen a movie before? Like, I mean, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying be ready. Be ready for something to pop up out of you, including maybe a plague that has been dormant for like a millennia. Mm-hmm. Sure. I think they do, but I think they would never characterize it that way. And it's funny, mentioning Star Trek, Whoopi Goldberg, of all people, said that, like, seeing Michelle Nichols in the original series was like formative for her for pursuing the career that she pursued. That when she was flying as high as you could possibly be with the color purple, and she'd be like, well, what do you want to do? She's like, I want to be on this new Star Trek they're doing. And they're like, what? You want to, wait, what do you want? No, you don't want that, do you? Sister Act 2 was also flying high. Yeah. But she deeply wanted, the only thing she wanted is like, I want to be on Star Trek. And here's why, because that was like super important to me formatively. And then, so it's like, when you think about, okay, seeing, representation matters, right? And people talk about that and then they kind of reduce it just to a term, but it does matter. It does matter to be able to see these kinds of things. And that is how we move culture forward. Arguably, like, quote unquote gay marriage, which it should just be, should always have been phrased as just equal rights. Because if you're arguing against equal rights, you sound like the asshole that you are. But it wasn't. It was gay marriage, of which there has to now be gay divorce, of course. But it was impossible until it wasn't. No, we don't do gay divorces in this state. Oh, okay. Well, that's fucked up. yeah, exactly. But also living in the Bay Area, living in a place that was very socially progressive, that was just like on board with that years before it like became more normalized throughout the U.S. as a whole. But then like something changed, and then culturally, like whenever I've left with monoculture, I was like, oh yeah, whatever. That doesn't hurt me at all. Now the transgenders, on the other hand, like whatever. Then they find a new thing to focus on. It's the same thing. It's the exact same playbook, and they keep doing it. You know why? Because it works. That's why they do it. So that's why it's so irritating to me. Where it's like they've told you how they are going to do this, and you still manage to not come up with a plan of action. It's kind of impressive, really, if you stop and think about it. Sure. Yeah. You're going to be less likely. Yeah, you'll be less likely to. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, sure. It's been going on for a while. We have we did a song called Conversion that features a singer, Ashley Altadonna, who is a musician, trans musician in Milwaukee, and it was for the Bandcamp Haddock International Day of Trans Awareness, and it was great. It was great to be able to do that because it was like about literal conversion therapy, which is horrifying, right? And that's something I was happy to do. I wasn't like expecting like, oh, here's your award for being a good person. It was like, no, that sounds awesome. Let's do that because that's something that is, well, especially, oh God, when did that was 2018 or something, like, and again, way too far ahead of the curve is my general problem. But that's what you got to do. You got. That's why it's nice to have like folks like Laura Jane Grace running around doing stuff, and where it's like, no, just do it, just by existing. Yeah, oh, that's right. Yeah. Well, and that's all that stuff matters if there's whatever side of history there is, like you can choose to be on the side of the a-holes, or you can choose to be on the side of the oppressed people, and that it is a choice, and not making a choice, again, just like not making a decision, is a choice, and that's soft complicity. Mm-hmm. Bit of column A and big column B. I grew up in a working class progressive family, and definitely was raised up to to treat people with respect and think of equality. But then also I can't overstate how much my world expanded just by going to different places and seeing different people and seeing different things and seeing, again, material conditions that are not my own, and understanding them, and in some cases not understanding them, and later figuring it out. And that is something that really helped establish my adult identity of who I am and what I care about. And I know not everyone's going to have that experience, but still, it makes me sad that, there's people that they've never been outside their like 30 miles of where they were born. And it's like, oh my God, that sounds like a death sentence to me. Like, wow, what is your life? Like, what have you done? Nothing? Like, and some people just don't like traveling. Fine. I'm just saying that if you, it's a big wide world out there, and you can, and there's a lot of enrichment that can happen just by getting out in it. Oh, sure. Dude. Yeah, like, can I just say that the idea that everybody that is not from the South has about the South is jacked up. Because, sure, everyone thinks it's like, Deliverance or Cowboys, yeah, those are the choices. I'm choosing Cowboys too, my guy. Yeah, you better believe it. No, but that's something where that's something you got to reconcile, right? Like when you are seeing people that are like just deeply caring, wonderful people that are doing everything they can, even if their government's doing things that they don't agree with in any way, shape, or form, that leads you, if you're a thinking, caring person, hopefully it leads you to change your worldview. Like, oh wow, maybe all that trash talk about these places, maybe you can't sum up an entire place based on like the worst actors of that. I mean, look, we're going abroad next week. I'm gonna have to answer for who. It's like, oh Christ. It's like, first of all, I always hated him since before he was in politics, so I got that going for us. But what are you gonna do? It's like, yeah, we hate it too. Yeah, exactly. I just liked him before it was cool. Yeah, exactly. To be fair, I did. I always just liked that guy. But oh yeah, same. No, I was like, this guy's a putz. Oh, this guy's a dangerous putz. Oh, now he's a powerful, dangerous putz. Great. I mean, like, whatever. Like, you. I know. Well, and like, no, but it makes us miserable because it's like, and doubly so when you try. It's not like you don't care. You give everything you have to try to stop that outcome, and it isn't enough. And people are bamboozled by like what are just easy material interests that the opposition chose not to engage with because consultants, I don't really know. I'm mad grocery prices were high. Well, they're even higher now. So congratulations. These tariffs will really sort that right out. Oh my God, yeah, and it's like that's adorable compared to what we have now. Yeah. It's like no, no, we're not doing that. No. Yeah, I know. Like he's on the rehab. He's a painter too. Oh yeah, is he is he Yeah, yeah, and it's also was it there was I think it's an Onion article that was like ghost of dead Afghani child scrutinizes Bush's watercolors. And I was like, wow, that's dark, but I approve. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm. One of my favorite movies of all time is Brazil. Yeah. All Terry Gilliam is right down the line for me, and that includes large swath of the greater Python verse. Mr. Show, which most people know Bob Odenkirk as like a dramatic actor now, which is insane to me. But like Mr. Show, huge for me. Do you know the show Party Down? Adam Scott, yeah, huge, formative like show. It's quite good. It's quite good. And there's not that much. It's almost like a British show that way. It's quite good, but there's not that much of it, as opposed to like here's 75 seasons. Oh my God, really? I don't want. It seems like quite the commitment. Bill Hicks, probably one of my favorite humans ever to have existed. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. It's like young man catnip too, especially like when I heard Rant in E minor, especially, which not even realizing why he was so angry. It's like, oh, he's literally dying of cancer and decided to go out with his boots on. But it's like it was so mean, and it was so. Yes, I feel that. Like oh my God, yeah. Like it was like hearing like Damaged or something, where you're like, yeah, oh, get his ass. Yeah. Sure. Oh yeah, it's like a magnifying glass. Yeah, and so there's a lot of that for me. I love This is Spinal Tap's one of my favorite movies of all time. Best in Show, all the Christopher. I mean, like, look, anyone that plays in a band has to relate to Spinal Tap. It's like whew, too real sometimes. Too real. There's actually a Chekhov script on the new record. There's a little guitar lead, and when we were like working up to play live, they're trying it, and I was like, no, that's too skilled. It should sound like Tonight I'm Gonna Rock You Tonight, like that guitar lead he does, where it's like, he just the hammer. No, it needs to be like that. It needs to be like a 13-year-old that's very impressed with themselves, like, and then like, oh yeah, and then it worked. But I was like, it's too skillful. It can't, no, So yeah, because I mean, musically, the songs are great, right? It's awesome stuff. Yeah, and yeah, that whole Christopher Guest universe, I love. I'm a big fan of like situational. See, I was gonna say situational comedy. That sounds like I'm talking about sitcoms. I'm talking about like The Big Lebowski as a a riff on Raymond Chandler or something, right? Where it's like, oh no, this is like satirical, like almost like near a farce. That is even all the better if you like know those kinds that kind of material. Like that's, I love the Coen brothers. Fargo's great. I think there's a lot of that in Conan Neutron: The Secret Friends, frankly. Like, just like the humor being very dry, sometimes situational, sometimes like to the music's detriment, potentially. I don't know. But I love that kind of stuff. I love a deep commitment to purpose. And what I don't love is the Sharknado of it all, which is just a loose clearinghouse of stuff that I don't like, of just like, hey, check it out, we're doing the thing, check out the thing we're doing it, see, we're doing it. It's like, yeah, we know. I yeah, it's enough, man. Can we just like get back to like earnest engagement? I mean, that would be amazing. Yeah, it's like, don't just write it, dude. Just write it. Yeah, I'm ready. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Huh? That's a interesting way to deploy that, but okay. Well, and yeah, I don't think juice is worth the squeeze there, my guy. But I mean, all respect. Like, and there's stuff I do like from him. Sure. Well, it's also like, dude, it's like when someone says, "Well, you have to admire the musicianship." I'm like, I'm not talking about the musicianship. I'm talking about the music. Like, the musicianship is great. They're great at articulating and creating songs that I don't like. They're very skilled at doing it. Yeah. Yeah. What are you doing this for? Yeah. Well, that's why punk rock came about in the first place. Because like there's all this like overwrought, this ridiculously involved and indulgent prog rock happening, and that begat punk rock. So like, I don't care about any of that. I just want to like get back to like doing this. Same, yeah, yeah. They got good songs. Sure, absolutely. All respect and love to what Tool does, but I agree with your assessment, and that's fine. Like, look, I appreciate an artist that it's like, oh, okay, so yeah, they went for that thing there. Cool. I am not going to listen to that. you know, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, one of the most important artists to at least my adult creative self. there's whole albums I'm like, nope, miss me with that. But it doesn't stop the deep love and appreciation I have for the ones I do love. And it doesn't, it's like, hey, you made the record you want to make. That's great. Ding. Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah. Well, exactly, because who's I mean, music. What is music journalism now? It's like so atomized now that it's. I mean, you better write a good press release because that's all what people are going to be writing. It's just like direct copy and paste, copy paste. Oh, it's a. I can't think too much about it because it is a bummer, and also like, I still remember the very first Replicator record, which is not the best Replicator record. There's a reviewer in Chicago that clearly listened to it very closely and hated it and wrote a really scathing review. None of which like had any frame of reference of what we were actually doing, whatever. But I was still like, God, all right. Like, he definitely listened to it. Like, give him credit for that. And it was one of those things where I never thought I'd pine for those days. I'd rather have someone despise it than just like have an indifferent reaction to it. And I feel like that's everyone's reaction to everything now because there's so much of it. It's just like, again, the fire hose of information, the fire hose of quote unquote content, not art, but content. And then I think it doesn't reward what we need most, which is people being filters. Like when I find a movie or band or a book or whatever that I really love, I won't shut up. I got to check it out. It's amazing. And then I'll say it like 5 more times to make sure that okay, fine, I'll check it out. Jesus Christ. And that's kind of what you have to do now just to get above the din. And honestly, a lot of stuff is look at Netflix with their like just good enough second screen cinema where it's like, this is just good enough. Okay, well, that's not good enough for me ever. And I feel like that way. There's a lot of that with music too. And it's I listen to it. I'm like, what is like? This is nothing. This sounds like nothing to me. It's right. Yeah. I feel nothing. Yeah. What do you say? Yeah. Yeah. Metallica or something. Yeah, it's like whatever. They're bulletproof. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Which some people, that's all they have. That's the only clout or sway that they have, right? Is it that like they're and they'll sometimes get a kick out of slagging something off and being the first one on the backlash. I'm like, okay, well, I find it more important and rewarding to just big ups the things that are great and that do give you joy to the world. And it's I don't know. It sucks because so much stuff is cold oatmeal, right? Where it's like, it's the cold oatmeal of a record. I don't know. And like you said, where it's like, there's everything to like about it, I guess. Like it's, the music is constant enough. The singer's good. They, like whatever. But it sounds like, like I called it music to buy pants to the other day, and I stand by that. So at this point, I would say that's my enemy. like creatively, like as opposed to like it used to be like everything new metal is I stand against and like whatever, and that young man way of drawing distinctions at literally different eras of like wow, was I mad about that? Can't imagine having enough energy to be mad about that. But that's what we're dealing with now. That's the problem of our age, is like some stuff is just good enough. Well, no, it isn't. Just good enough isn't. And you don't have to engage with the Way of the Neutron or Conan Neutron, the Secret Friends music, or even like me in any way, shape, or form to agree with that sentiment. That don't demand more, demand better. And if you demand more and you demand better, I'm not going to say you're going to get it, but you're not going to not get it. My man, I'm right. This kind of songs I want to hear. I make the podcast that I want to listen to. I throw the festival that I would like to go to. I mean, it's my brand identity proposition, and I surround myself by other people that also feel the same way, and that's how you change things for the better. Is you don't accept the slop that is given to you. Get off your knees and soar. That's what you got to do. Yep. Pretty good. I mean, again, coming down a state of what I call the average news day is just a gigantic flaming, screaming skull sitting next to your head the entire time. There's our people that have been along for the ride, and that's great. But it seems like there's been good reception for folks that have heard it. Sentence long band name. Like that never does favors. Sure, yeah. Wouldn't enough room on the ticket. There's like a second ticket that has the rest of the name on it. Yeah. I mean, sure. Yeah. Just like unfold. Yeah. Totally. I mean, response has been good. We started playing some of these songs last year when we were out with McCluskey, and like without a doubt, they were like, "Hey, what's that one?" And they would like sing part of the riff, and I'm like, "Okay, that's on the one coming out next year." So like, stay tuned for that one, I guess. But you got these other ones you want to buy those. Yeah. Oh yeah. Right. Yeah. And which would make people crazy because they're like heartbroken. They wanted to, hear the songs that they loved, and like they're like, I don't know any of these. Yeah. We don't. It's actually kind of rare for us to do that. But like with Who Dares, especially, I introduced that kind of early on because I was like, I feel like this one's gonna hit with people, and I think this would be a really good live song. Then we brought Chekhov's Script in, Sharks Keep Moving, and Villainous Circumstance are coming in now for the spring, and we played those live too. And people get a good response to it, and that's cool. I've got this weird little micro niche that I exist in, and that's cool. I like getting in front of new people, and I don't believe that it's noble to keep things from people, so I hope that it can do a little more. I hope it can get it out a little more to the world at large. If there were to be, there's these ridiculous, every 5 years, is so-and-so the new savior of rock? And it's like, oh my God, it's just like insufferable. But if there, if there needs to be, I know, it's like, what are you listening to? What are you listening to? Because there's so many amazing guitar bands too, and it's like I could tell you 5 guitar bands that like you'd be like, I don't even know what to compare them to, right? Because they're doing something interesting, cool, and unique, without any effort whatsoever. So, but if there is any kind of nomination process for standard bearer of rock, I'll throw my hat in the ring. Sure, sounds good. Yeah, I'm the guy. It's me, Conan Neutron. I'm the guy. If elected, I will serve. You know why? Because you can do a lot worse, and you generally have. and it's I mean, not you specifically, Aaron, but like every talking about like the world at large. I, but that's also part of just that's not a position I ever expected to be in, right? You know, but it's like why not? Like whatever, you don't like it, I don't care. I don't care at all. There's yeah, like it. Want to see if I can do it. Can I do this on my own? I don't know. Sure. I agree. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the possibility of opportunity is what it is, which is again, man. There's something to be said for just showing up. This is I mentioned who was I talking to? I don't remember who I was talking to. I was talking to someone recently. We were on tour. I won't even say what city, but we were on tour, and a very well known act was going to be the feature for like the weekly, the local weekly, which are dying, of course. They're all. Turns out you can't run a business just on escort ads. But anyway, the whoever they had slotted, which was I know exactly who it was, and they're in a big band. They just blew it off. They didn't do it, and so we were around, and they gave us the feature, and like I got to do like a feature, like a huge feature in this local weekly, just because we were around. And there's something to be said for first of all doing quality stuff worth caring about, but just staying around. And now, if number one ain't there, number two ain't gonna help you none. But but if number one is there, look, again, people come back and be like, well, I want to have what you have. Great, go put 25 years of work into it. Come back to me, because that's what you're not seeing. Is you're not seeing this like everything that came before it, because everybody looks at the results. That's what we're gonna do, and like you don't see anything behind it, and it's something where. Harder I work, luckier I get, right? That's a line in Chekhov's script, too. That I really firmly do believe that. And I look at it, the destination is the journey. I like doing this. I like writing music, recording music, releasing music, playing it live, playing with other bands, having that amazing, like, real life interaction between human beings and a live rock show that is sweaty and loud and and has a palpable presence that isn't just some slot that you click on the internet. I think there's a vitality to that. I think it's important. And I think it's important because it is important. And it's something where you're never going to be able to replace AI. I'm sure they'll have some holograms that'll try, but like, I think people will take a lot of guff and they'll accept a lot of diminished expectations. But I think there's certain things you just can't fake. Yeah. Well, totally. Absolutely. So first of all, in the rock biopic industrial complex immediately. That's it's got to end. By the way, how do they still make these after Walk Hard, which was like every single one. We've seen this before. And how do you keep making these after Walk Hard just basically just shredded that entire genre apart, and you're still making them? Okay. One of the coolest deployments of that, there was it was the Hulu, that not the documentary, but the Wu-Tang show. Did you see this? Are you familiar with it? Really good. And it has such a slow start. Like, and you're like, oh, wow, Jesus Christ, a really brief history of time in this, huh? Okay. But I was like, wow, I'll watch this. Really good depiction of the creative process, really good use of the visual storytelling medium to keep it interesting and cool. If more stuff was like that, I think we'd be doing okay, but it's not. It's just God, I hate them. I wish I didn't, but I hate them. I hate that they exist. I hate that they get accolades. I hate that people think they're doing something important. Like, stop. Just stop. Thank you. Oh man. Yeah. Let's see. Well, I think I'm younger than him, so that doesn't work very well, does it? Yeah. Chalamet's in everything, man. I'm thinking, like, who's God, I can't even. Barry is Keoghan? That's how you say. He's a really good actor. Yeah. Uh, Keown. Yeah. He's good. Holland's pretty good. Tom Holland, like he's all right. I've seen him do some stuff like this beyond just. God, everyone I can think of is like older than me though. Doesn't that suck? Like I was like, oh, Nicholas Hoult. I'm like, wait, I think like we're almost the same age. Oh, I guess he's 35. He's younger than me. Okay, so that counts. Yeah. Did you see the Holdovers? Dominic something. Dominic Sessa. He was good. He blew me away. I was like, whoa, this guy. Watch out. Yeah, I know, right? And he's hold his own. Incredible. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. What him and his odd eye. Oh, it's great. How old? Paul Mescal's not that old, right? Is he even in his 30s? He's good. I hated him in Gladiator 2. Hated him. Do not watch it. Not good. Yeah. Denzel Washington. I know, annoying. Pedro Pascal's good in it. Denzel Washington is amazing in it, but don't watch it. But other than that, everything I've seen Paul Mescal in has been really good. I've really enjoyed it. If I'm not saying I look like that dude, but like he's probably looks closer to me than Dominic Cessna, but Cessna. I don't say his name. Whatever. Get in the biopic, kid. But I loved him, Mescal in All of Us Strangers. I really loved what was the movie with his daughter? Christ, what's it called? So good. After Sun. Wrecker. Like, so good though, but like this is a wrecker. Like, I generally, like, when I've seen that guy, I'm like, that guy is a good, like, new actor. Yeah, even when I was like, didn't like him Gladiator 2 though. I was like, because he's a Mick. Yeah. No, I genuinely think that guy's rad. Like, which is saying a lot because I hate like all young actors. I'm like, everyone just looks like an underwear model. I don't care. Like, oh yeah. Well, she's fantastic. So there's nothing wrong with thinking about that. Yeah. Yeah, I did like it. I didn't like adore it or anything, but I feel like you could have excised entire subplots of it and been fine. Well, that's true, but I did like the practical effects of having the. You really didn't need Monica Bellucci's character, but I mean, look. how they dispatched with that was great. The claymation, yeah. Yeah. I thought that was the smartest possible way to deploy that in a clever manner, and I appreciated that. But I mean, it's also like, did there need to be a sequel for Beetlejuice? Not really. I mean, but well, yeah, that's the question, right? I know, right? I might. Oh no, that would be terrible. Yeah, yeah. No, 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 no. It's not gonna work. Do you know that that show Grand Designs? That the house show. So Kevin McLeod. No, it's just like it's over here like streaming in like various seasons of it. I love it. I love that show. One of the things I love about it is that he's so like the whole time he's like, "What are you doing? Yeah, you're not going to be able to do that. Like, there's no way. There's no way you're going to like. Come on." And like the entire time, and then at the end he's like, "Well, you did it, and it's awesome." But he's such a dick the entire time. And then the reason why it works is at the end of it, he's got such a deep appreciation for like the level of effort, in some cases Sisyphean effort that people have gone to make these houses that like he's just genuinely bowled over for it. And I love that show. I will take that over 100,000 of these stupid house flipping shows. Can make me watch them if you paid me. But they tried to do an Australian version of it with like just a different guy. Didn't work. And it was the same show. Yeah, and it didn't work. And it was like, well, because it's not one size fits all. It's something about like, it's that guy. Great rock and roll and bad TV shows. Yeah. Sure. Tropical fuck storm, amazing. Yeah, I love the Psychos are having a resurgence because I saw them in the '90s with the Melvins. I was like, who's this guy with the mullet? What's going on here? Like, it was. Oh yeah. He's in Alaska. He's in Alaska. Yeah. That's awesome. That's great. No, there's a lot to love in Australia. There's a lot of great working bands down there. I would love to get down there sometime. Yeah, wow. Jinx. Oh yeah. It's. Yeah. Oh my God. Oh yeah. It's not great. I can I tell you, week from tomorrow, I'm going to be a 17-hour flight. Yeah. Hell yeah. I'm could not be more stoked. I've been off of North America exactly one time, and technically speaking, it was just to Hawaii. So like that's not technically true. And I've never played off of North America. So this is, and we're in it for like 2 weeks. Like we're deep in it, and I'm very excited. And the nice thing about it is everyone I know that has been is like, oh my God, I'm so excited for you. Let me tell you all my 7 to 10 favorite things. Okay, hold on. I mean, it's one of those things where there's people that are in bands that, again, I grew up listening to. They're like, oh man, I'm so jealous. I'm like, me? Crazy. And I just, it's going to be a fantastic adventure. I'm so pumped for it. I'll believe it when we literally get off the plane is kind of where I'm at right now. But we've got a wonderful tour booked. We have a day off just at Mount Fuji. Like, great. I can't wait to like see it. Oh yeah. Oh, the movie Bullet Train, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but I do want to ride that train. Yeah, movie 2 stars, train 5 stars. Yeah. Sure. Me too. That's not that strange. Yeah. Yeah. That's because it's different, right? Yeah. Right. If you take it to work every day, it's not that interesting, right? But you're like, who cares? This is what you do. Well, absolutely. Yeah. And that, again, I more than ever now, like when we're on tour, like I try to like take time out at least once a day to like do something cool, like see a cool thing, or like, oh, let's go to this restaurant that's known for this like weird stuff or whatever. Just even if it's just one thing, because seeing the world as a touring band is a unique experience, and it's not being on vacation, as your coworkers will always say. It's like, nope, that is not at all what it is. It's not even close to that. But it is a unique and cool way to witness the world. And if you have the choice to what you do at that time, and I choose to enrich myself as much as possible, and within reasonable expense, see as much cool stuff as possible, because that's how I choose to experience the world. And I don't take any of it lightly. Like right now we got this Japan tour, we got a coast to coast tour coming up May, June, and for US that's starts the East Coast, ends in like San Diego. We may get out to Europe in fall. I've been burned so many times on this. Like I'll believe it. I'll believe that when we get off the plane too. Frankly, that'd be great. That'd be another adventure of a lifetime. But I just take what I can get, and I give what I can, and that's what it comes down to. Yeah. Oh, sure. Yeah. It's all the same. It's just a big freaking sports box. Mm-hmm. Hello, Cleveland. Right? I mean, it's real, man. Like it looks the same, and that's what I like. I mean, I'm not saying like, oh, I wouldn't want to be a big, huge arena act. I mean, like, it's also like how you choose to do it too. Like you can choose to do it that way, or you could do like when Tom Petty did 20 nights at the Fillmore in San Francisco, and that's great. And they did like different sets every night, and like that's a different way to do it. And there's ways you can do it smartly. Again, to invoke my friend's chat pile, I think they do a really, really good job. Who by the way, opened for us their show. But they have such a good head on their shoulders. They're so great as a band. They all the support acts they bring along are just all bands that they love and they want other people to know. And I think they write a fine line between being at a place where you are allowing the people that want to see you to come, but you're not making it so big that it's an impersonal experience. And I think I just wonder why most bands don't seem to care about that at that level. I guess. Yeah. Yeah. They're acknowledging they're acknowledging the space, and that there could be work done to make the space more interesting or accommodating. Like that's like it doesn't. That's being thoughtful and good on them, Like, and there's all kind, like they didn't have to do that. What, Ryan Fest or whatever it was. Like they brought Red Fang and like all these other like freaky bands in. Freaky for the normies. I mean, like great. More bands should be doing that. Yeah. You know, Butthole Surfer, Scratch Acid. Yeah, like I mean, like it's. Oh, wait, I guess it'd be Jesus Lizard, but a little bit before. But that's right to do it in utero. Well, those are all choices. Those are all choices, and like I don't know. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if there ever was a like leveling up situation for my flying circus, you know, I think about that stuff all the time, and that's something where if you have the power to enact change, you should. Yeah. Sure. Oh, word. Awesome. One of my favorite dudes. Yeah. Yeah. You just get to like play with badass bands and like, you know, do cool stuff. Great. I'm in. Yeah. That's way more important to me. That yeah, what you just said, like they can play anywhere in the world and a crowd will show up. Great. That's all I need. Great. You know, like I mean, it's all I ever. I like doing it because again, if you're doing it to make money, what are you even doing in 2025? If you're in music to make money, but like I don't need to be like, I don't need to be the biggest thing in the world. I just want to be able to to connect with the people that are its audience. And I feel like that audience has changed a little bit, and it's like a little wider and bigger now than maybe when I first started it. But that's success for me. Oh yeah, it's having a blast. Sure. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sure. So excellent but nuanced question. I mean, starting off, it was literally just like, can I do this? And the answer is yes. So then the immediate next thing is cool. Then let's do it again, and I'll do it even better. And then that's when I had the idea, like, I'm going to make a concept record about Hannibal Lecter and the world around him. Did successful, you know, people liked it. It's the first one to like sell out and have a second pressing and stuff. And because I was like, it seems like a fun thing to do. Let's write a record about this. And then after that was doing the single series. Like, well, can I take what this is and like the conceit is the songs can be anything sound wise, but they have to fit within the framework of what fits on a 7-inch. So there's like you have to think about the length, and that opened up a lot of ideas songwriting wise of like, well, it can kind of be whatever it needs to be. Like it can be poppy songs, proggy songs, heavy songs, like whatever. It can be whatever it needs to be. Like sort of, there's no limits on it because of the nature of that series, which was, the people on the other side were people that either played in the band, recorded with the band, have some importance to the band because protons, electrons, neutron make the atom, right? So that was like whatever it is would be what it was meant to be. So that's like the beginning of that. And then with Dark Passengers, it was like, all right, I'm going to go the other way. These songs are going to be as long as they need to be. And I'm not going to even remotely stress about playing them live. They have to serve the purpose, and they have to do the thing of, it can't sound depressing, but it has to, like, I have to nail it. I really have to nail it message-wise, lyrically, so on and so on. And so that's, and I got there. That was a hard one. That was a hard one to do. There's songs I never want to play live. And not just because it's like, oh, that'd be a pain in the ass to learn. I'm like, nope, just don't feel like it. That's not where I'm at. And then Dangerous Nomenclature, literally like, hey, like, let's just come up with 3 song titles and like pair up with a band that we like that sounds nothing like us, and we'll just both write songs to the song title because that's just a fun, weird, cheeky thing to do, right? And that was great. That was awesome. Love that. Lung, one of our favorite bands, one of our best friend bands. Have so many great bonding moments with that band. We have the same year model making a van. It was like really surreal for us. And we played this weird thing called Adult Prom that was an actual event. Yeah, it's an actual event, and there was a tour's worth of experience in one evening. I'm not even kidding when I say that. But I ascribe it to the 90s, the bands covering the Friends bands thing. And then also, like we did Kate and I did a cool duet on our side, and Tony and Dale and I, we like played on one of the Lung sides. Great. I love that kind of thing. It's like, it's a collaboration. It's fun. It's interesting. And then when this one came together, this was very much just I envisioned a self around Art of Murder that could write a Dark Passengers. And I didn't necessarily know what that would look like or even what it would be, but I envisioned that would be a thing down the line that I'd be able to get to. And in that same way, I envisioned a self that could write and record and release A Way of the Neutron. And I didn't know exactly what form that would take. I didn't know exactly what it would be, but I knew they would be what it is. Because again, it's an ethos, right? And I was like, oh, that seems to be what this is, so let's just lean into that and do that. But if you're going to do it. Don't commit to it. You got to commit to it, because I can smell insincerity. I can smell lack of commitment to anything, and it makes me crazy. I think now I'm able to look at the band as a body of work and be like, oh yeah, that's a this kind of Secret Friend song. That's a this kind of Secret Friend song. Like there's enough of it that I'm usually right about. There's usually like one song in each record. I'm like, yeah, that's gonna go pretty hard, I think. And I've never been wrong yet. We'll see. But I don't feel like the way my other bands were, I could always hear it as music. And maybe there's something about the way that we create where the songs are written, arranged, recorded, mixed, mastered, released, and then we play them live. Most times that's usually how it works. That just like the brain kind of hits it a little differently. But I'm able to think about it in the larger perspective of music and the place in music, which again is something that 22-year-old me would be like, that's pretentious. Yeah, I know. But he definitely would have been like, come on. Like, whatever, dude. But it is. It exists in the framework of everything that came before it, everything that comes after it. And it's an assured record. I've heard people... The coconut tree. Yeah, great. We could have had hilarious Wine Mom president, and no. Anyway, but there's an assuredness to it, right? And there should be, there goddamn well should be, because it's like, okay, think of how many bands. I used to have a game which was, think of a band that has more than 5 records that hasn't had like a member change that is, none of them are bad. And it's hard, right? It's hard when you think about it, because bands are just these entities that they're designed to spin apart. Right? And I found a way to sort of divorce the creative aspect of it and the live aspect, and also make the live aspect stronger, because who's playing live, sometimes they have their own bands, they have their own things going on, and like whoever is around, it's not whoever's around. There's definitely people that are chosen for deeply inscrutable reasons that I could not possibly articulate aloud, but that believe in the mission and that believe in the songs and putting them forward in the best possible way. And it's a hell of a rock show. Again, in the year 2025. And I've taken in so much music over the years and continue to, but it's one of those things I've come to respect bands, even if I'm not into it, that really know who they are. I was like, oh no, they know exactly who they are. Like, oh man, that's couldn't pay me to listen to a Coldplay song, but there's no joke. They know exactly what they are, and I've come to respect that. Do I want to listen to it? No, I do not want to listen to it, but it's important to me. No, it's fine. That's pretty much the end. Right. Yeah. Well, totally, and that's I've seen that happen, and I've seen that happen with bands that we played with, and it's like, oh, they're figuring this out. This is adorable. This is great. And if somebody asks, yeah, I mean, definitely. Like, there's, and if asked, I choose not to. Oh, well, what you need to do is blah blah blah, this and that. But I definitely I've seen enough that unsolicited, and people do ask. Yeah. 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 Oh, absolutely. It makes the record. Yeah, but it's right. Yeah. Well, of course. So two things to that. First of all, Dave Powell of Slint's a buddy. We did a band called Household Gods, very short-lived band, one record with me, him, Vern Rumsey of Unwound, dearly departed, LKN departed. Amazing player, great guy. But I agree with you. I think that that band did not spring forth fully formed from the head of Zeus, as legend would have you believe. The songs weren't there, right? And I think Ethan might have some strong thoughts about that. And whatever, that's fine. It kind of is what it is at this point. They followed it up with one of the greatest rock records of all time. Okay, cool. Not bad. And but the other thing I was listening to not Super Unknown. For as much as I make this reference, I think I'd remember the name of the record. Soundgarden. What's the one? Is it Super Unknown? I think it is Super Unknown. Yeah. Let me, My Wave and all that. Yeah. Anyway, long record, peak CD era. Yeah, right. CD era record. It's 70 minutes long, right? And we were listening to it. We were driving. Again, what would seem like 1,000 years of journey for you, but it was just average Tuesday for this band. And understood. Sounds great. And it was wow. And I was like, oh, this record's so great, but it's too many songs. It's just too many songs. And then I talked about what I would remove, and one of my compatriots was like, so Conan, you just removed all the singles. Remember the songs that were huge on MTV? Those were all the songs that you removed. I'm like, oh yeah. Sure. Mm-hmm. It was going to be on was it even it was like 2 records before, right? Was it the record before that? It was like there's okay. Yeah. Oh yeah, I'd like to this. Yeah, and it is. Yeah, it was a right song, wrong record. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, they need to fill it out because records are important and singles aren't. Yeah. Yeah. So, by the way, it was 4 releases between when they first wrote it and when they hit big on Stranger Than Fiction. But one of those is like the compilation, the early years compilation. Yeah. But it was on Against the Rain first. You're right. Yeah. But I said 2, so I was underestimating it. So I was way off. Exactly. Bad Religion. Oh yeah. I know a guy who's on their crew, and he speaks, and I think he even plays plays keyboard with him on songs or something like that at this point. But yeah, it's great. I totally spaced when they came through. I was like, oh yeah, I could have gone to that and seen them. Whoops, my bad. But so that's another thing, right? Like I like Bad Religion. Do I think about Bad Religion? Not really, not much. But like, dude, if I would play with Bad Religion, sure, let's go. I'm ready. They're great. What's not to like about them? I mean, like they know exactly what they are, and they've written tons of great songs. Have they written songs I don't care about? Probably. I don't know. We've got a lot of records. One would imagine I probably don't like all of them, but who cares? Like, and that's something that. So that's something that means more to me now than it used to be. Is like the sort of the long view of stuff, right? And not the like getting mad at. I mean, I can't believe I used to be mad at Riot Coalition when they made On Top, which is their classic rock record. And then I was like, well, why was I mad at this record again? I'm like, oh yeah, because it just didn't sound like the Lipstick Game, which I loved. That's it. That's why I was mad at it. I'm like, this record is great. What's my problem? Yeah. And you're like, oh. And that goes back to what I was saying earlier too, right? About like you have a choice with that. You can be very high on your own supply and drunk on your own self-importance and close your off from that experience, or you can hear it with new ears and you can engage with it and be like, I guess I misunderestimated this band, or I heard it at the wrong time. Whatever. There's no wrong reason for it. What I would love, and I don't just love it for this band. I do definitely love it for this band, but in general, I just hope it's just as nice when things get their day in the sun. Right, and that isn't to say that everything is ever going to get that. Of course, it's not. But it's nice to like seeing like when Henry from Chunklet brought Death from Detroit to like the greater consciousness of the rock world. It was like, wow, this is great. Like, how did I not know about this? I love that kind of thing. Oh yeah, because you listen to that record and it's like, Jesus Christ, how did? Yeah. How do you hear that and be like, nah? I don't know. Oh sure. Yeah, absolutely. If you just had the MC5 or just had the Stooges, you would have a strong claim. But if you have both of them and it just starts there, yeah, you're doing pretty good, man. You're doing pretty good. Yeah, dude. Yeah. Hopefully, we can. Hope we can meet in person when whenever the hell we get out there. There was some talk about going, like I said, in the fall of this year. We'll frickin' see about that. We'll see. I know. I know a band or two out there. We'll see. What? Well, Aaron, I'll tell you this. I always record my side. Yes, absolutely. Always. And I'll tell you why. I just do not trust Zoom. It's talking for 2 hours and then like, oh yeah, maybe I should turn the mic on. Yeah, of course, man. No worries. Well, I sauntered in like 15 minutes late. It's all good, dude. That's good. Okay, cool. I will send.
Thank you for listening to that episode of Post-Burnout.com interviews. We're an independent venture run by yours truly, and as I said at the beginning, liking, rating, subscribing, and sharing really helps us out a lot. If you're feeling extra generous, we do have a PayPal donation link in the episode description, but don't feel obligated, of course. We've also begun releasing occasional exclusive episodes on Spotify, so subscribe there if you'd be interested in hearing those. Thanks again for listening, and see you next time.